certified pearl expert and GIA Pearl graduate who sells a wide range of pearl jewelry at mattharrisdesigns.com. If you see a piece you would like to purchase from Matt, please click the link in the video description. This is a live Q&A, so drop any and all questions that you have about pearls in the chat. And if you're watching this after the fact and want to learn more about a particular topic, you can refer to the links in the video description. Matt, welcome back to the channel. If everybody remembers, Matt was here in October talking about freshwater versus saltwater pearls, and I am so glad to have you back on the channel. Matt, what is the most common question you get about pearls?
Hello, everybody. It's like so awesome to be back. I have so much fun with Jordan. So thank you for inviting me back, Jordan.
Of course.
Oh, first, the most common question, it's going to be tied, actually. I'll throw out the one that first comes to mind. People want to know if their pearls are fake or real. We talked about that before in different shows that you've done and whatnot. And that's the big thing, because a lot of us get handed down pearls and we're not necessarily buying them from someplace, or we may be at, like, say, a flea market or someplace, and we want to know if they're real or fake. And the answer to that question, the simple answer is yes, the tooth test works. So just rub it on the bottom of your tooth, and if it feels sandpapery gritty, then it's likely real.
Perfect. Perfect. We'll talk more about some of the common questions that you get, Matt. And if anybody in the audience has a question about pearls, please drop it in the chat. We would love to answer it on screen while you're here. Everything that we're going to be looking at is a freshwater pearl today. Freshwater pearls used to have sort of a reputation for being small and rice-like. Matt, can you talk about what freshwater pearls are and why they're way better than people actually realize?
Well, you know, when you say way better, it just depends on who you're talking to. Like everything, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But the one thing we can say about freshwater pearls is that they've changed, as you were saying, like a lot over the last 15, 20 years. And indeed, back in the day, freshwater pearls were considered, we call them like Rice Krispie pearls, because they look like little Rice Krispies. And they were, the ones that were bigger were potato pearls, is another popular one. But they were never like really lustrous or round or anything super special, but people bought them because they were inexpensive. So that's kind of the way freshwater pearls were for forever. And it's really only been maybe the last 10, 15 years or so. And like every minute, there's some sort of something new. The pearls you have in your hand right now didn't exist back then. I mean, those are incredible. Those are freshwater, natural colored pearls with unbelievable metallic luster.
They're so round.
Yeah, this is an
round.
example. You wouldn't have looked at those 15 years ago and said they're freshwater. It'd be impossible. So that's one of the big changes is what you have.
Yeah, I feel like it's changed in a very short time, and a lot of shoppers don't even realize the difference even after, like you said, 10, 15 years of this change being in action.
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, I think more and more people are getting educated about what pearls are on the market now, and you have choices now. So if you want to have the pearl look, participate in pearl fashion, you don't have to buy necessarily the super expensive stuff, because these ultra nice, we're calling them fancy freshwaters today. Freshwaters are not the cheapy stuff, but they're also not as expensive as like a Koya or South Sea or Tahitian. And we did the last show mostly on Tahitian. So it's kind of a great way to participate in pearl fashion and look like $1 million without spending the money.
Absolutely. Do you think it's pretty easy to identify freshwater pearls as, first of all, real pearls, and also as freshwaters as opposed to saltwaters?
Yeah, you know, it's easier for me because I'm with them every day. So I can kind of look and just tell. And I get people that email me or get a hold of me on YouTube or whatnot all day long saying, what do I have? And I try to first send them over my video to tell whether they're fake or real, because at that point, you know, I don't know if it matters. But if they're real pearls, freshwater pearls are real pearls, by the way. Saltwater pearls are real pearls. Natural pearls are real pearls. They're all real pearls. It's just that they're different pearls. But at that point that they can tell that they're real pearls, a trained eye can just kind of tell by looking at freshwaters. Now, when it gets tough is when you get the perfectly round, maybe 8-9 millimeter ultra lustrous white pearls. It can fool you, and you may think they're a Koya, not freshwater. Those right there, you just look at them. I mean, you know, they're freshwater. They're kind of a funky Baroque shape and got a little bit of texture to them, but they're large, which is cool. But
And
those
the
are freshwater.
price, right? The price can sort of be an indicator that something's a freshwater pearl. Is that still true?
Yes, except that, you want to make sure when you're buying pearls that they tell you, whoever the seller is, if they're freshwater or not, because what if somebody takes a freshwater and prices it as an Akoya? You don't want that situation. So it can be, but not necessarily.
So, can we talk about nucleation? Let's dive really deep into this concept. Matt, how does a pearl come to be?
Yeah, you said dive. I hear that all day long.
It was an accident too.
I know it totally was. So, which people don't dive for pearls anymore, but it's still kind of funny. Okay, nucleation. So, what we're talking about with freshwater pearls, or pretty much any pearls these days, are that they're cultured, and what that means is that it's a partnership between nature and humans. And what happens is that man, woman, humans take a nucleus of some sort and they insert it into the mollusk. And I say mollusk because pearls don't just come from oysters. As a matter of fact, the freshwater pearls we're talking about today are coming from a mollusk that's not an oyster. But in the mollusk family, there's multiple mollusks that create pearls. So with a culture pearl, with the freshwater pearls that we're seeing today that are on the market now, a person takes some sort of nuclei, puts it in there. And in the old days, when we're talking about those pearls that we just kind of went through before they got perfectly round and big, it was often a piece of flesh would be that insert, and it's called mantle tissue, and it's from tissue from another mollusk that's inserted in there to create the process of creating nacre. With some of the newer ones that you're going to see a little bit, we'll talk about them a little bit more, they're inserting beads now, so they're bead nucleated freshwater pearls. So you see them nucleated both ways.
Excellent explanation. And then, so just to kind of clarify and sort of shorten it, saltwater pearls and freshwater pearls, they have different nuclei from each other.
Well, no, yes and no. So what's happening in China, for example, China produces 99% of the freshwater pearls or more. That pretty much all the freshwater pearls come from China. And while traditionally they used to take a piece of that little mantle tissue, so imagine maybe a little 3 millimeter sliver of tissue, and they'd put that in. Now with some of the more modern pearls, like this first pearls that you showed, that the pair of earrings, they're actually taking a bead nucleus. The bead nucleus process is the same thing that they're using in Japan and South Seas, Philippines, French Polynesia. It's that process that was developed and enhanced by Miki Yamamoto back in the early 1900s. So those guys there are bead nucleated. So they do both.
Excellent.
But I got to say one thing, if you guys haven't joined us before, real quick, is that it's not a grain of sand. Just by the way, nobody nucleates with a grain of sand. And even the natural pearls that you find haphazardly aren't as a result of a grain of sand. That's kind of like the big myth in the pearl world.
It's huge. Even when I first started at a jewelry store, that was what the manager on staff told me, that a grain of sand would irritate an oyster, is what he said. And of course, it is often an oyster, but it's better if we call it a mollusk, or in the case of freshwater pearls, a mussel, right? And he said the grain of sand would irritate it and cause it to produce nacre. And that was, of course, 11 years ago. And I think that things have changed. If I'm not mistaken, the CPAA Pearls as one course actually mentions that they opened up a whole bunch of mollusks to sort of debunk this. And so there was actual research put into debunking this myth.
There's a video out there, and I think you can find it on YouTube. And you know him, I think, Douglas McLaren.
Yeah.
He is a great scientist that knows everything about pearls and growing pearls, cultivating pearls. And if I remember right, it was him doing this video, and he actually took in slow-mo a picture of an oyster, and they put sand in it. And they kept it in a tank and then showed it rapidly over time. And it just kind of for lack of a better word, poops out the sand and gets rid of all of it. So yeah, then that's a fun video to look at.
That's crazy. Well, and I think too, they've realized it's usually a parasite. When it's natural pearl, it's a parasite that's often burrowed through the shell even to get inside. And so it's actually, you'll get these really unique shapes because it's based on like the shape of the creature that initially came into the mollusk. So really interesting stuff. Just a friendly reminder for everyone watching, you can shop with Matt at mattharrisdesigns.com. He is a real human person, as you can see, who answers his phone and responds to emails. So if you have questions, you can reach out to him directly and even subscribe to his YouTube channel, Matt Harris Pearls. So we've talked about the nucleation, the bead nucleation versus the tissue nucleation. How that bead nucleation has kind of changed the pearl game, which we are going to dive into more when we start looking at Edison pearls. What exactly, when we say bead nucleation and tissue nucleation, what exactly does that mean? Like, what are they actually putting inside of the mollusk?
I should have I've got some around someplace. I should have been more prepared, but most pearls around the world are nucleated with a shell that comes from the Tennessee River Valley. It's a really thick muscle that they can actually cut out like large beads out of, and they are the base for a lot of the pearls, the nucleated pearls around the world. It's interesting that you mentioned that. One thing I'm not sure of is that the Chinese nucleated pearls, I'll have to ask some of my pearl friends around. I'm not 100% sure if they're also using those beads or if they're using something else. I'm not 100% sure. But generally, yes, it's a shell bead, and the shell bead is from here in America. It's kind of fun because, like, in France, and I'm a big wine guy, as a matter of fact, all the French vines are actually American vines because we rescued them from phylloxera, which was a disease that wiped out all the vines way back when, and we sent them our rootstock. So if you really want to have fun with the French person, just tell them that French wines are American.
We're always saving the French.
Right. Similar to that with the pearls, with the nucleated beads coming from America.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I look forward to talking about that even more. Let's talk about this extra long strand. So, Matt, when I tried this strand on, I realized how smooth the black stones are. And I just knew that they must not be black diamond beads. These are black spinel. When you paired these stones together, were you thinking comfort or price?
Well, you look great in those, by the way.
I think so too. Man, don't tell me that because I think they're fabulous.
Yeah, that laid so nicely on your neck.
I know. I doubled it, but I think I could triple it if I really wanted to. Like if I put my mind to it.
Probably could. It's 50 inches long. Here, look at the way it lays on Jordan there. This is part of the reason I started making Spinel. I don't know if I was just stringing them, not as well, but I was making these using black diamonds. Two things happened. Number one, they were really, really expensive, and I had a hard time selling them because they're thousands of dollars. Number two, they just didn't lay so nicely. There's something about the black diamonds that was a little bit more rough looking, even though they're chips, they're a little bit rougher, not as uniform chips. So they didn't tend to lay quite as well. And then they're also they have kind of a scratchy, chunky look. I don't know if they really were scratchy to wear because I actually never wore them, but there's something about Spinel that it looks just like the black diamonds. As a matter of fact, when we ship these out, I have one or two of the black diamond strands left, and I always have to make 100% sure that nobody puts the black diamond strand in the box because it looks just like the Spinels. And it's so hard to tell the difference. Spinel sparkle. And these little Spinel beads are just amazing. So that's a station necklace with Spinel and freshwater pearls.
I love it. I think it's a fantastic combo. I have seen the strands with black diamond, and you're right, they tend to be really expensive. But as somebody who's tried on a lot of pearls, I will say, like, the Spinel, it has no noticeable texture on the skin. Like you don't feel like the sharpness. And for some reason, every diamond strand I've ever worn has been like irritating. Like you would have to wear it over a sweater. You wouldn't really want it on your skin, I don't think. So, but it looks fabulous. And if you're wearing it over a sweater, I think the diamonds look good. Here's another shot of, look at those Spinels sparkling. Yeah. I mean, you can't hardly tell it's not diamond.
Yep.
I think it looks absolutely great. And that 50-inch length is just phenomenal. I like the doubling. I don't know if I'd want to wear it without at least doubling or maybe tripling because it's so long. But
yeah, it's long. I haven't seen anybody wear it straight, other than there's a girl that bought one that lived in Hawaii, and she sent me a picture of her with her back turned towards the viewer in shallow water, and this like beautiful ocean with islands in the background with nothing on except for the pearl necklace draping down her back all the way into the water. And I'm like, okay, so finally somebody figured out a way to wear that without doubling it up. But how often is that
That's
going to
the
happen?
trick.
Right?
Well, step one, go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
We figured it out. And actually, I know, speaking of Hawaii, there's not a lot of pearl farming going on in Hawaii, but I don't know if the audience realizes Matt has actually been to a pearl farm. Matt, can you talk about your experiences actually experiencing like a pearl farm in person?
Sure. It's neat because it's not, it's not the romantic thing that you might think it would be. Pearls have been elevated to be so elegant and luxurious, and they are, and they're ultra rare. But when it comes down to it, that's a table after we just open up a bunch of oysters, and it's just all the goo and whatnot. And you're talking earlier about parasites. This particular farm is in French Polynesia on the island of Raiatea. There's Bora Bora back there, and it's just a little hut above the water, and you have to take a little power motorboat to get out there. And it's so simple. It's a simple life, and it's just not what you think it is. And you open these oysters, and as you said earlier, there it is, the hut above the water. That's how big this place is. You open the oysters, and first of all, there's goo everywhere, and there's the parasites you're talking about all over the place and crawling, things that you can't even identify crawling on these things. And then you'd open these oysters, and you'd find a pair of little translucent baby lobsters. I should have sent you a picture of it. And they tend to be a male and female, and they live inside the oysters, and their job is to eat all the bad stuff that comes in and actually protect the oyster from disease. But you'll open that up, and then these guys will crawl away. And then you're going to pop the pearl out with your fingers, and it's gooey and a little bit warm in there. And it's really fascinating stuff. These people work really hard. They take care of these oysters over and over and over and over again for a really long period of time before we can even get to the point where any of us is experiencing a pearl. So it's fascinating, and it gives you like a really great appreciation for more of an appreciation for what it is that you're wearing. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Did your experience give you a more positive opinion of the pearl economy, like the people that are working in the industry? Did you feel that they were treated fairly and that there's a lot of ethical practices going on in this industry?
Well, I mean, I've only been to a few pearl farms, but the ones that I've been to have been very family oriented, meaning that the staff is treated like family. There's one in particular where they were even building another house on the property just to house the grafters, to give them a place to live right next to work. They feed you lunch, and everybody that I've met in the industry, although again, I've only been to a very, very small amount of pearl farms. But so far, yeah, they've been just great family oriented businesses that appreciate their family. I just did a video today about Julmer in Philippines.
Yeah.
It's another company that's just known for treating their employees so well. And everybody's happy to be there. And so, yeah, that's another great thing about the pearl industry is that you're supporting these livelihoods of these people. And it's kind of neat to actually visit and meet them.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Let's take a look at this piece. Do you call this a pearls by the inch necklace, or did I totally make that up?
You didn't make it up, but you said that a few times. I just didn't say anything.
What's it called? What do you call it?
Well, I don't call it pearls by the inch because you can't order it by the inch.
Oh, sure,
So
sure.
I mean that it's just I call it a pearl necklace. I don't know. I get you could call it maybe not a station necklace because it's got these separators between each one. But this is for people that want to get involved in pearl fashion and wear something, but they just don't really know how to wear pearls, and they think that the traditional strand might be just too much. Where do you wear it? Is it okay to wear it that way? And people get kind of nervous about wearing pearls, and people love them, but they're not exactly sure how to wear them. This is a way for us to say, wear it anywhere, anytime, with anything, and you're completely okay. And this could be the jeans and t-shirt pearls that people talk about, or it could dress up with something as well. So that's why we make this particular piece, is for it, people just to get involved. It's a great starter piece.
It's not quite as long as the black Spinel necklace.
I think 36 inches, if I recall.
I don't know if you could quite double this.
You can. People double it all the time. Yes.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really pretty. You could even wear it with the black Spinel necklace. There's no rules.
Layer it up. Yeah.
Just have like a neck vest, just a whole bunch of pearls.
We do a few different silver chains and pearls that are, again, just like that. So you can start wearing pearls, but not wear the strand.
Definitely. It's a little more casual. Now, these are not as casual.
No, this is the opposite.
We've gone in a different direction here. Tell me about this strand.
Yeah, this is blinging it up, right? So show some bling with this one. If you're going to go to the wearing white party or a Christmas party or anything where you just want people to notice, this strand is super cool, because those are crystal CZs on Freshwater Pearls. And it's just a fun way to bling it up a little bit. Even the bean clasp has a little bit of bling on it as well. And they're inexpensive. And that's why we just make them with CZs and Freshwater Pearl. So it's a way to be totally blinged up for 185 bucks.
Not too shabby. It's a really
fun
I think
piece. That's
a great gift.
That might be, I think, maybe only the second one we've made. We have enough to make another, I don't know, maybe probably like 8 or 9 more right now.
I've not seen.
We haven't done it yet.
I've not seen a strand like that.
I think you're the first one. As a matter of fact, we just put it on the website just to get it on the show.
Oh, awesome! Oh, everybody, go visit the website. All right, and then these. Let's talk about these. These are special. Look at that texture.
Well, those of you guys that were on the last show saw that we had fireball pearls. And they're called fireballs because they shoot through the sky. They look like fireballs shooting through the sky. And everybody in the industry calls them fireball pearls. These, I think I coined the nickname for them. I don't know if anybody else has used this yet. You don't see them often. There's the fireballs.
These are the fireballs.
I'm calling these the Betty Rubble pearls, because if any of you guys are old enough to remember the Flintstones, these to me are kind of those big, bulky pearls that Betty Rubble used to wear. So I call them the Betty Rubble pearls. So they're just, you want to make a statement and wear pearls and have people notice, yet not be that traditionalist. These are the way to go, because they're pearls with personality, and they got a real funky texture. They're all just a little bit weird shaped. It's a way to go. So they're very popular, and they same thing, jeans and a t-shirt, you name it, you can wear those with anything.
Definitely. I've had a lot of customers say they'll see a strand of pearls, round pearls usually, and they'll say, well, I don't have anywhere to dress up for. You don't go anywhere where I can dress up. I think a strand like this, a customer is going to feel a lot more comfortable wearing these to Walmart, or you know what I mean, or whatever it is that they're doing, dinner or something that doesn't necessarily have to be fancy. But you know, it's important to like love your jewelry and love wearing it and feel good in it. And jewelry is meant to be worn. And so when you're shopping, I think you should pick something that you know you're going to feel comfortable with, that you know that you're going to want to wear often. And this is a strand that, to me, it doesn't look super fancy. It looks nice. It looks like real fine jewelry, but it's fun.
Yeah, you want people to wear the pearls. They're made for that. So that's the whole idea. Anybody can design a strand of like perfectly white round pearls that are Audrey Hepburn, style, and they're gorgeous. And I wish everybody would get one. But if we're going to talk about pearl fashion in general, there's so much beyond that. And the most of the pearl world really is what we're looking at right now. It's not those perfectly white, perfectly round little strands that you see. Those make up like so very small bit of the world of pearl production. So it's fun stuff like this. Like I say, pearls with personality.
Definitely.
Betty Rubbles.
Betty Rubbles. What do you call this shape?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to not get into the really long answer on that one. If a pearl is asymmetrical, you just call it Baroque. Sure. Technically, I just call it Baroque, which covers most pearls. I'm not going to, without opening a can of worms, and we can do this on another show maybe, there's a word that should not be, in my opinion, used for these, but they look like, and so maybe you can call them Keshi-like.
I
but
was
they're
wondering
not
if you were
Keshi
going to say
pearls.
that. I was thinking Keshi inspired.
Keshi inspired. Again,
They look Keshi inspired.
it can be a can of worms, maybe for another show. But basically, to give you guys a quickie on that, Keshi pearls are pearls that are kind of a byproduct of the cultivation process, where maybe that nucleus, is shot loose and a pearl forms, anyways. And the reason that I'd even bring this up is that when you take a look at Tahitian Keshis, if you go to my website and type Keshi, you'll see Tahitian Keshis. They have the same look-ish. And so I think that's why a lot of people use the word, but a lot of people really don't know that they shouldn't necessarily be using the word. But they're just Baroque, fun, freshwater pearls. And they have a really neat look to them and a great luster. I love, love, love that strand. We bought enough to make maybe 4 or 5 of them. And this is the first one.
And I will say, we showed your Tahitian Keshis on our last
Oh, we
episode.
did.
And
Yeah,
it was like, I think, a $1,900 strand, which
that's right.
for Tahitians is not very expensive, right? Like I would say
That's
that's
right.
like probably on the low, like less expensive to like medium expensive. These being freshwaters at what was that, 235? I mean, it if you're going for the look and you want a lower price, you can go with a Keshi inspired non-Keshi freshwater. And I think it's a good stepping stone in the right direction. You can build up to Keshis, right?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Keshis they're so expensive that they're even sold wholesale by the gram in the pearl
Wow.
world. Yeah, so we buy Keshis by the gram, and they're really hard to find. And it's kind of fun to find one when you open up an oyster too. And they're rarely big.
Right. What about this color? Are these dyed? Like, how would you describe this?
Yeah, we should start talking about dyed pearls. So those are kind of like the Betty Rebel, right? But you can see they're treated and they've got that kind of iridescence, kind of fun color to them. So they're kind of the same, but they're a gray with like a green and purple overtone. So as you move them around, they pretty much pick up on anything that you're wearing. So they're super cool. And can I say something about dyed pearls?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with dyed pearls. What the problem is that you don't want to buy dyed pearls if people are telling you they're not dyed. And if you're selling pearls, then you absolutely should be telling people all the treatments, just like any gemstone. So Jordan and I being in the industry, just disclosing everything is key. But it's another way to participate in pearl fashion is buying pearls of certain colors. We have a red one coming up soon, and I think a chocolate one, if I recall, too, dyed, because you're never going to get those colors out of a mollusk. And it gives you, again, a way to wear pearls and have it kind of match something. And there's the cranberry ones. I love those guys. Now, pearls love dye, and they suck it up and they bring it in because they're very porous. That's part of the reason when you scratch them on your test, you can feel that kind of grittiness. If you look at the surface of pearls under a microscope, they're gritty with crevices and whatnot. So they suck in dye and they keep it and they hold dye really, really, really well. So I have no problem selling and using dyed pearls. When I get bridesmaids, we had a bridal party that wanted eggplant colored pearls because they had eggplant colored dresses. Sure enough, we made eggplant colored. That's kind of hard to say. Pearls for the entire wedding party. I made a red piece like this for Kate Flannery. I think I may have mentioned that on the other show once before I knew what I was doing. But yeah, dyed pearls, they're just fine. Just know that they're dyed.
Monique has a question. She wants to know, what is the dye?
Monique, I have no idea. Yeah, I need to figure that out.
I'm sure it varies.
Yeah, well, it does. I'm sure it does, because early on, I made the mistake of getting dyed pearls from the wrong vendors, and you have to get them from the vendors that know how to dye them. And I decided to attempt to dye them myself, but in trying to figure out how to dye them, I couldn't. And it made more sense just to get a hold of vendors that have dyed pearls and dye pearls and buy it from them, as opposed to trying to screw around with dyeing them myself. But I never really asked exactly what is in the dye, but I can tell you 2 quick little stories. One is that I'm in Austin, Texas, right? So UT, and we have the Longhorns, and I wanted to create some pearl jewelry that was this kind of burnt orange, which is our colors. But of course, they didn't exist. So I asked a vendor that I trusted, that I buy dyed pearls from, and they offered to go ahead and make some for me. But they said that the colors that they kind of put in don't really come out that way, and it takes a lot of experimentation to get it right. And we went through probably 6, 7 batches of all these pearls that I just couldn't use, or I tried to use for something else because we couldn't get the right color. So whatever it was, it seems like a pretty tough job. The other one is
that explains why so often you'll see a strand of dyed pearls, and then you'll go back to get more, and they might not be. Yeah, you just might not come across that color again.
I haven't seen those cranberries for years. Those are left over from a batch that I bought quite a while ago.
I never see these. I never see these.
Yeah, I actually didn't think I had any left, but we happened to find some the other day. So that's the last. Well, maybe we have 2 strands left.
Well, and I like these a lot too. The chocolate.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing. So these are to you guys, a holiday pearl presentation. So I figured the cranberries always are great for the holidays. Same with the chocolates, because imagine going to the holiday party or Thanksgiving dinner or something and wearing cranberry colored pearls. Is kind of cool. These remind me of fall too. Same thing, chocolate dyed pearls.
Monique is wondering if it's hard to find a matching set. I wonder though if you have a set with earrings and a pendant, if maybe they were all dyed together. I assume when you dye pearls together, they'll probably come out the same color, right?
Well, usually when you're people like me and you're buying these pearls from these farmers and vendors, they will sell you the dyed pearls. And the key with this, for example, is somewhere we have, I think, a pair of earrings, because this strand comes in a 16-inch strand pre-drilled. And when you make it into a necklace and you put the knots in there, then you add the clasp, you usually have a few pearls left over. So if we can get 2 pearls left over, then we make earrings out of the 2 pearls, and they're perfectly matched because they're from the strand. So when you buy these wholesale from these vendors, you don't buy them individually, you buy them in strands, and that's kind of the way you come up with the individuals. Or usually in these, you just can't buy a single pearl this color or that red color.
And then just keeping with like the holiday theme.
Yeah.
I felt like all of these pearls sort of went together. This is my favorite of the holiday colors. I love that
one just for Thanksgiving, because I had all of these just strands and partial strands of just pearls from over the years. And this is kind of like what I'm saying, that you have 1 or 2 left. And I had enough with the same size, but different colors to make this strand. And to me, it seems very fall. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And it's a one of a kind. We'll never see.
This is kind of wintry.
Uh-huh.
They're like winter pearls. I love them. Can you talk a little bit about in the previous live stream that you did here, you talked about the red pearls and how the color had like come off because the dye didn't set. Mm-hmm. How long does it take the dye to set? Like, let's talk about the dyeing process a little bit more.
Well, okay, first of all, I got to say that happened one time only, and I was brand new at this, and I was in a rush because Kate Flannery at the office, the show The Office, her boyfriend called me and said, hey, she's going on the red carpet. We need red pearls ASAP. So I called my vendor up, or a vendor, and they said, okay, we're going to make some for you. And they FedExed it over. I sent it to her like immediately. And she was out on the red carpet on a hot June day. And her boyfriend calls me up and says, Matt, Kate's neck's turning red. The dye's coming off. I'm like, oh, crap. So I learned my lesson there. Buy from people that you trust that are doing the right job. But number 2, there must be, I really don't know if they were just, it was a bad dye job, or if they did not let it sit and suck in long enough. And so that's a really good question. I don't know. I'm going to have to start asking some of the colored pearl vendors about the particulars of the process, because I'm not really sure. Did they let them sit for 3 weeks before they do anything with them? I don't know.
It might be a proprietary technology, and they might not want to or be
Quite
allowed
often
to
in
tell
China,
you.
yeah, often in China, when you ask these guys stuff, that's exactly what they tell you is like, I don't know, or, you know. Yeah.
So, Matt, let's talk about what advice do you have for customers on caring for their pearls? We had someone request after our last video, what are the do's and don'ts of pearl wearing?
Well, I just made a video about this, and I'm keeping it kind of secret because sometime in the next few weeks, we're going to put it in the website as one of those kind of rewards. If you sign up for the newsletter, you're going to get a video about it. But we have a hint of it on YouTube right now, at least part of it, and that is, can you wear your pearls in the shower? And that's just one question we get asked, and the answer is you shouldn't. So in general, I'll give you guys the lowdown on it. Is there's a saying that pearls should be the last thing that you put on and the first thing that you take off. And I agree with that most of the time. The reason they say that is because, as with the dyes, they're very porous and they suck up anything. And so I get people in all day long that are bringing me old strands from grandma, and they're all like yellow and dull. And they weren't that way when they started out. And that's because perfumes, lotions, elements, get on them. So imagine putting your pearls on and then spraying your hairspray on. Not good, right? Don't wear your pearls to the beach because they're going to suck up your suntan lotion. People ask about wearing the pearls in the pool. Hey, after all, they come from water, right? But no, the ocean doesn't have chlorine. So you want to keep them away from anything because they're going to suck in whatever's around them, and that makes them dull and maybe discolor over time. So yeah, put them on last, take them off first, unless you're having a fun little romantic night where you only want to wear pearls.
Oh my gosh, Matt. How often how often should pearls be restrung?
Yo, wow, that is I don't get asked that question a lot, but I hear people all the time say restring your pearls every 2 years. I don't know if that makes sense. I think you can just pick up your pearls and kind of get a sense if you pull them a little bit. If there's gaps, they'll get gaps over time, especially if they've worn a lot and if they're strung on silk. But sometimes they're strung on nylon. Sometimes they're strung on who knows what. So it depends on how they're strung, how well they're strung, how often you wear them, and then how you keep them. So by the way, don't keep your pearls in airtight containers because again, they're so porous. They like moisture. They like your body. You wear them. Best thing you could do for a pearl is wear it. Like this guy, I'll stick it in my shirt just so it can kind of like pull some of my body moisture in. So restringing it depends on all that sort of stuff. But yeah, kind of tug them a little bit and see if they're loose, and then decide whether or not you restring them. Or sometimes you just look at them and the strings get kind of icky over time and build up stuff.
You'll be able to tell. Yeah, definitely. If they break, definitely have them restrung.
Yeah, right.
And have them strung knotted so that if they do break, you don't lose a whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
so,
you only
Matt,
use one.
Right, exactly. We talked about Edison pearls in our last episode and a little bit earlier in this episode when we mentioned like the bead versus tissue nucleation briefly. I have given this a lot of thought and I have questions. So I'm going to hit you just real fast.
Yeah.
Is Edison pearl just the term given to perfectly round freshwater pearls? Like, are they perfectly round? Or does the term Edison like specifically refer to the nucleation method, meaning like another shape could still be an Edison pearl?
We're going to do like a really long YouTube video on that because everybody asked, and you can't really talk about it quickly, but I'll attempt to give you the quick version. And that is, it's kind of like a nickname, Edison, for nucleated, which are kind of those things that have been around. We talked about earlier for like the last 10, 15, 20 years max. But they're a nickname for nucleated pearls. And that's why they're round, is because they're nucleated with a round bead. But there's more to it than that. You see how those are like really ultra lustrous, and that's a natural color too, which is amazing. And it's well matched, which is amazing. The Edison pearls, I think you have a lavender strand coming up as well. The colors are ridiculous. There it is, kind of a lilac. And these are naturally colored pearls that are freshwater. And until not too long ago, this was unheard of and impossible. And the nacre thickness, the luster, the color, they're gorgeous. So the reason the term Edison was coined, they say, is because Edison supposedly said that there's two things he can't do in his lab: make a diamond and make a pearl. And I think this is kind of a hint at the process that happened here. So these pearls are a result of a lot of work, a lot of lab work done with hybrids between different mollusk types over a long period of time, experimenting with like superfoods, controlled environments, all that sort of stuff, rather than just, a lake, or a pond with some mollusks in it. So in a way, I think they're called Edison pearls because, they are kind of there's a scientific path to get there.
Are Edison pearls always from China?
Well, when you say Edison pearls, it's not like
because it's not a brand.
Right. Bead nucleated pearls that are freshwater that have this sort of controlled environment from these particular hybrids of mollusks. And yes, I think they're all in China. I don't think.
Are they all coming from like the same farm, or do you think there's multiple?
Started with a company called Grace who developed these. And I'm not really sure to what extent other companies are making them now, but it definitely started with one company that did all the research to come to this point in China.
But it sounds like the color isn't coming from the mollusk species. I think based on what you said, it sounds like the color is coming from like what the mollusks are eating, like the conditions, like the environmental conditions that they're exposed to.
I hear it's a little bit of both. That it's the mollusk as a result of this process of breeding hybrids together to come to this point. I think it's a combination of the hybrid muscle that they're using and the controlled environment and potentially the superfoods. And, as you were saying earlier too, a lot of this stuff, you can't get a straight answer from the Chinese companies that are doing it as to exactly what the formula is.
I'm super curious. I can't wait for more information to come out. Let's talk about this. This is our final strand that we're going to look at for the night. So if anybody has some questions they want to squeeze into the chat, go ahead and hit us up. Why the price jump on these? What makes them worth so much more? And is it unusual to see freshwater pearls in this price range?
Yeah, because look at them. That's why. I mean,
they're the ones I'm wearing because they're my favorite of the whole batch. I was
is that what you're wearing? Yeah. So those are the Edison pearls, and they are, again, like ultra metallic and shiny, well matched. When you add shiny and lustrous to round to well matched to size, now you're getting rare, and rare means they cost more. So we're 10 to 13 millimeters on these, and again, well matched, coppery gold with overtones of like pink and purple, depending how you look at it. If you get that in a little darker light than what's in Jordan's got right now, a lot of those colors start popping out in a little bit more natural light. All of those together make these expensive. And yes, Edison pearls can get way more expensive than that. I know a store in New Orleans that sold, it's been maybe, I think 2 years ago last month, a purple set of Edison pearls that were just a little bit bigger than this, but sold for $18,000, to give you an idea.
Wow.
So sure. I mean, yes, that's actually a really great price. What do we have those at? 3,800, 3,200?
Even better.
Yeah. I mean, so it's a great price for those. And wait do you see them on? That's like where it really comes together, is putting those things on. Yeah. You almost bought the South Sea pearls last time, and you didn't, so maybe you should get these instead. I don't know.
Oh, I like how you think. They're fabulous. I love them. I love all of the pearls that you sell, Matt. They're all fantastic. Before we wrap up, Matt, what is your biggest warning for pearl shoppers?
Wow, I'd say buy from someone you trust. And and it's not just me, there's great pearl people out there. How do you establish trust? Look them up and see if people have a reputation in the jewelry world, in the pearl world. See if they seem like they're authentic, if they're teaching you about pearls, if they're involved in education about pearls and in the pearl industry and supporting the trade. That's probably signs that you're buying from somebody that you can trust. Because if you don't, there is, have you guys ever seen those videos that are on YouTube with the people opening them up? They're walking in the river and they open up the big mollusk and there's this big blue pearl that comes out. It's all fake. There's so much information out there that's not true about pearls. And I'd be afraid of trying to buy just from what seems to be the best price from some foreign dealer that you don't know. Not that foreign's bad necessarily, but try to establish some trust and buy from somebody that trusts, and buy from somebody where you can send it back if you don't like it.
Well said, and I strongly agree. Everyone, if you're interested in purchasing any of the pearls that you saw today, please visit Matt's website. The link is in the video description. And if you missed our first episode, our first live episode that we did together, freshwater and saltwater comparisons, check that out. The link is also below. We've done a number of videos collaborating together, and Matt has his own YouTube channel. So I hope you will subscribe, go watch his videos, give him some likes and comments, help push him further in the algorithm.
And look at all these JADE videos that are out there, because they're cool. Because you and I have talked about everything from dragons to jade to, whatever. And there's always a way to work in pearls. So I appreciate you for that. And I love you guys for coming on and logging in. And the people that aren't seeing this live, I appreciate you coming on later and logging in. And I'm here for you on YouTube or on Instagram. If you have any questions about the pearl world, don't have to buy something. Just ask away if there's something I can help you with.
Comment below what you want Matt and I to talk about next time he comes on the JADE channel. Thanks, everybody.